Edgar the Iron Man, known throughout the village for his unmatched craftsmanship, had a heart as strong as the steel he worked with. Yet, despite his skill, fortune never favored him. The enchanted woods that encircled the village were both a blessing and a curse. Whispered tales spoke of treasures hidden deep within, but also of strange creatures and haunting melodies that lured travelers to their doom. Edgar's forge stood at the edge of the village, its glow a beacon in the dark, though its warmth often came at the cost of sleepless nights. The villagers admired his artistry but seldom had the coin to pay for it. Edgar, ever kind-hearted, often bartered his wares for food or helped neighbors without asking for anything in return. One frosty autumn evening, as Edgar hammered a glowing blade, a mysterious figure cloaked in shadows approached the forge. The air grew still, and the usual hum of the wood seemed to hush. The figure extended a hand, revealing a strange piece of ore, shimmering with colors that danced like flames. "This," the figure said in a voice that seemed to echo from nowhere,
"is no ordinary metal. Forge it with care, and you will find both fortune and destiny."
Edgar hesitated but then nodded, his curiosity piqued.
"What do you want in return?"
he asked cautiously.
"Only your words that you will craft something worthy of its power,"
the figure replied, vanishing into the shadows before Edgar could say another word. That night, Edgar began working on the mysterious metal, its brilliance lighting up the forge. Little did he know, his act of forging would set him on a path that would change not just his life, but the fate of the village, and perhaps the world beyond the woods. With every strike of his hammer, Edgar felt a connection he couldn't describe, as if the ore itself whispered secrets to him. The usual resistance of metal was absent. Instead, the material seemed to yield and shape itself with uncanny ease. Sparks flew like tiny stars, and the glow of the forge grew brighter, illuminating the entire workshop in hues of gold and crimson. Hours passed, yet Edgar hardly noticed. The rhythmic clang of metal filled the air, accompanied by the crackle of the forge's fire. His movements became almost automatic, driven by an instinct he hadn't known he possessed. He lost himself in the work, his mind swirling with thoughts of what this creation might become. Outside, the wind howled through the trees, carrying with it the faint echoes of the wood's haunting melodies. Edgar, however, remained undeterred, his focus unbreakable. The mysterious ore seemed to imbue him with a strength and clarity he had never felt before. Each stroke of the hammer brought him closer to completing something extraordinary. As dawn broke, a pale light seeped through the cracks of the workshop's wooden walls. Exhausted but exhilarated, Edgar finally stepped back to admire his creation. Before him lay a blade unlike any other, a sword that shimmered with the same fiery hues as the ore it was forged from. Its surface seemed to ripple, as if the metal still held the essence of the flames that had shaped it. Intricate patterns etched themselves along the blade's edge, their design too perfect to have been made by human hands alone. Edgar marveled at the weapon, a mix of pride and unease stirring in his chest. He could feel its power, an energy that seemed to pulse faintly in the still air. For the first time, he wondered what the enigmatic figure had meant by fortune and destiny. What fate awaited him, and the village? With such an artifact in his possession, he resolved to keep the sword hidden for now, knowing its mere Edgar was cutting some planks of wood when a young boy came running from the village. Gasping for breath, the boy reached Edgar and quickly said,
"Edgar, the chief wants to see you immediately. A stranger has arrived, and he says he has urgent business with you."
Edgar was startled. A stranger? Could it be the same person who had brought the mysterious metal for the sword last night? Or someone else? He quickly set his tools aside and followed the boy. In the center of the village, a small gathering had formed. The village chief, an elder respected by all, stood there, and before him stood a stranger. It wasn't the same man who had visited Edgar's forge, but there was something extraordinary about this stranger's attire and demeanor. The stranger looked at Edgar and smiled, saying,
"Finally, you're here. I've heard you possess a unique skill. Is it true that you forged a sword, not from ordinary metal but from some magical material?"
Edgar took a deep breath and replied softly,
I don't know how you learned about this, but yes, I made a sword. However, it's of no use to anyone. It's part of my forge and safely kept there.
The stranger's smile deepened, and there was a chilling edge to his voice as he said,
"Your denial is futile, Edgar. That sword is not merely a weapon, it's a gateway. A gateway to a world hidden beyond these woods. If you've tried to conceal it, you've wasted the opportunity for which you were chosen."
The villagers surrounding Edgar listened to the stranger's words with a mixture of awe and fear. Someone whispered, "Could it be true? Is there really a secret hidden in the woods?" The chief questioned the stranger.
If this sword is so special, why are you after it? Is it a threat to our village?
The stranger looked at the chief and calmly replied,
A threat? Perhaps. But that depends on Edgar. If he wields the sword for its purpose, he could bring a new light to the world. But if he hesitates or turns away, darkness will rise from these woods and consume everything.
Edgar's heart raced. Could this really be true? Had his simple craftsmanship placed such a heavy responsibility on him? He knew there wasn't much time. That night, while the rest of the village slept peacefully, Edgar opened his chest and took out the sword. Its glow felt brighter and more powerful than before. He knew that if he were to face the truth, he had to venture into the forest, to uncover the secrets hidden within its whispers. Standing at the edge of the forest, the sword in hand, Edgar took one last look back at the village. This was his world, but he understood now that the path he had chosen might not allow him to return. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward into the forest, where the whispers grew louder and more enigmatic. A new journey had begun.
Watch episode 2 to reveal what happened next.